Hello, Miss Stone. I'm gonna be doing my AP Literature conference right now, so here it goes. Being in AP Lit for about half a year has really made a big impact on how I'm able to read. Um, I've improved drastically over the course of these 6 months that I've been in this class, and as being the reader, though, I still do have multiple flaws when it comes to being able to read the text properly. In correlation with Nabokov, Prose, and Calvino, there are still multiple things I do need to work on to be able to ensure I could get a successful successful rate in being able to read these texts and basically just get the full picture and concept behind all the texts that we read. Due to my lack of diction and my lack of interest in the multiple texts that we read, I realized that I must work on these areas to be able to become a better reader. So, again, it was diction, so being able to for my vocab and everything else. All right. So by reading and going into more detail, I'm able to improve drastically from beginning to my text to from learning my text. Okay, so what I have first would be Hamlet. All of these notes that I took while reading Hamlet was a peer summary. However, a lot of times I did use I did analysis to be able to read it better. But again, what Calvino said, I remember looking back at, or from reading Calvino right now, and then looking back to how to read, how I was reading back then. I didn't really have a full interest in being able to read Hamlet or Shakespearean books because I'm not a big fan of like the play style text and how his old English was. My main focus while reading the text was being able to summarize, or not summarize, but get the get a summary of each page, and being able to, or not a summary of each page, like of each chapter, and being able to um, give a good analysis on what the text was about. The notes that we had took in class about Hamlet also really helped because the backgrounds that you had provided us had given me more of a had let me know what what I would be able to realize while we were reading the text. I know that if I didn't have if I didn't have that background it provided for me, it would have made it a lot harder. Even though I didn't understand it, with the background, it made it a lot easier for me to be able to read it a lot better. Um, so while reading this text, I would multiple times I would have to keep rereading because I wouldn't know how to perceive or put it into like my own words because the way Shakespeare talks is kind of a little bit hard for me to understand. Um, Also, I need I should have used like the dictionary a lot more. This goes throughout like all my text. I wasn't really using a dictionary to find out words I didn't know, which I really need to improve that part on. Um, After going over everything about Hamlet with the class, I realized for all my responses that from all my responses that for the questions that you given us that I needed to have a deeper analysis of Hamlet because while we while I was going over the text with the whole class when we were having our group discussions, I realized they have a lot of more better analysis while my kind of answers were a lot more broad and a lot more general. Um, I also this when after rereading and we still had more time to read, I tried to connect a lot of themes together and just like see how each thought like connected with each other, just the basic theme. So I guess I get more involved with the text and be able to reread it better. Like as Pro says, that we need to reread to be able to practice, and Nabokov looking into looking more into detail and more in depth with the text. Okay, so after the Hamlet book, we went on to what's it called? Oh, sorry. Actually, before so Hamlet, I didn't really enjoy the book because of my lack of interest in the play in Old English books. Most of the time, I was able to read it, understand, because of how he puts all the words together, and I tried to use Nabokov and Prose's morals and values of reading, and it helped a little bit. But I really think that after reading Calvino's his piece of his work, that there's a sense of maturity that we need to have to be able to read some of these books, and that we have our own type of style of reading that we like to read, which is actually very significant to the next text, because when we entered the Romantic era, that's where I realized I like those kind of books a lot more than how Hamlet's books were. So like it's not that I was more happy, but it was a lot easier to understand, a lot easier to read, and it was a lot more interesting to read as well. So going into what we have read now is kind of making influence. So the Romantic era, I realized I enjoy these books a lot more. I probably would say that because when we took that romantic score test, I got a 9 out of 10, which is like extremely romantic, which may be the reason why I like these books a lot more. They're a lot easier to read. They're a lot easier to understand. And again, I did background checks before I read these books, so I was able to know what I was gonna go into, and the group discussions that we used as well really helped me like elaborate better. Like I was able to actually elaborate on how they were elaborating with their stuff, which I wasn't able to do before. So when we read The Ancient Mariner, The Rise of the Ancient Mariner, I realized how much more I like these books. I still had to reread and make still reread and make connections, but it was a lot less than how I did before. I was able to connect pieces from the reading, also paying attention to the detail and help me find the bigger pieces. The connections between you could tell because I was able to make that connection between the human and the albatross, which I really didn't make any connections before with Hamlet. The questions also helped me a lot because I had to have a specific details on what the story was about, and just all of that. Okay, now this is where we get into Frankenstein. So Frankenstein, I actually really enjoy the book that we're reading right now. It's a lot more interesting, and I'm actually being able to follow along with the book with the whole class instead of before in Hamlet. I didn't really pay attention. I wasn't following along sometimes, which made me more behind. A problem with me is when I was reading is that I skip over some words that I don't know. So a lot of the times I still don't use a dictionary to be able to understand the text properly, which is something I really need to improve on. So basically, that's pretty much all. Like, as a result of the work I had put into reading, I can tell that I have improved a lot. Or it might just be because I'm actually paying attention more to the books. Although I still do need to work on um my reread or my reading and reading everything correctly the first time. Um, by rereading and paying more better detail, I had gotten a lot better, and I believe that it'll continue to happen as long as I pay attention to class and everything. Thank you for listening. Have a good rest of your day.